Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a review and final diagnosis on the Shirogorov Knives F3. Now, if you follow my channel, you'll know that this knife has gone through a little bit of some changes over the course of its life with me. When I got the knife originally, it had some green G10 handles and a green G10 backspacer. I did a little knife surgery where I upgraded the knife with these absolutely spectacular copper dust carbon fiber scales from Department 13 Knives with this beautiful seashell pattern on it. Now, I've been really happy with this knife. I've carried it now for a couple of months, and so I feel like I can bring you a full review and final diagnosis. So why don't we go ahead and remind ourselves and get some vital signs on this knife and see what kind of numbers we have. So up front, you're going to be looking at 4 inches of overall blade length, give or take. Now, a lot of times this is listed at 3.75, but I don't know which way I can cut it here to make it 3.75 inches. That is a 3.9 or 4-inch blade right there. So really liked having that size. It's this knife with its sort of compact overall frame, which goes out only to about 8.9 inches. It's not a full 9 inches. It really reminds me how nice it is to have a big blade packed into a compact handle. Back to the pivots, just less than 4.5 inches right there. Your overall handle length is coming in at just under 5 inches, about 4.9 inches, and your grip area is about 4.25 inches. With these scales on board, the overall thickness of the handle is coming in at about 0.62 inches. So it is a little bit wide, but I didn't really notice a huge problem with that in my everyday carry. The blade stock comes in at 157 thousandths, but that blade is done in a nice high flat grind, and so it comes down to a very small amount of blade behind the edge there. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at another couple of knives for a size comparison. We've got the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 as our sort of standby right here. I've got a ZT-0392, so this is bigger than some of my other classic knives, and I've kind of enjoyed having this. But what you'll see is, look at the handle size and the blade size compared to the 0392. Almost the same handle size actually on all 3 of these knives, but look at how much blade you get from the F3 right here. And I have really, that has just blown me away and changed my perspective on a lot of knives right now. So I've really enjoyed that. Let's see, I've got another couple of knives right here. How about another Shirogorov knife? How about a Sigma for you right there? That's a pretty cool knife. And here's another knife that some other high-end people might have on them, a Koenig Arius. So again, the Koenig having a little bit less blade than this Shirogorov, but you know, that just speaks to the very functional nature of those knives. Now take a look at the Sigma right here. The Sigma is really an experiment in cramming a ton of blade into that handle. So it's a similar handle, it gets even more blade. So I definitely appreciate how Shirogorov, even though they make these higher end knives, still aim for a very usable tool rather than just a showpiece. And so let's go ahead and talk about the primary part of that tool right here, and that is this blade. This blade has been nothing short of spectacular. Over the last few months, there is not another knife in my collection that I wanted to reach for more often than this knife, for the simple fact that this is one of the best blades I've ever experienced on a folding knife. It has all of the benefits of a Spyderco cutting tool, okay? It slices as well as any paramilitary or Mannix could ever hope to do. But it's also a really nice looking drop point blade. I just like the very simple appearance of it. It has a no-nonsense full flat grind done in a nice stonewash finish. This one has been done in Vanax 35 steel. Now, something I really enjoy about both Shirogorov and Spyderco is their exploration of new steels. Vanax 35 is a very interesting steel with a unique composition similar to LMAX, not too far off from M390. They've since discontinued the use of 35. They're using 37 now. It's just minor tweaks to the overall steel chemistry, but it's a high nitrogen steel. And just that fact alone makes this knife a curiosity to me, something that's really special, something that I really enjoy carrying and using. This edge that it came from the factory is incredibly sharp. Maybe I can get a close-up for you of what the edge looks like. Maybe not on the video very easily, but this is a hyper sharp knife, and I've been super impressed. The Vanax has indulged a bit, and I have used this knife a little bit. I've gone through cardboard, I've gone through rope and gown and a lot of other things, and this hasn't faltered even a little bit in all that time. So moving back, we can talk about the pivot. This one is running on the single row bearing system. If you watched my knife surgery video, you'll know that these are just freely sitting ball bearings inside of some washers. When you take this knife apart, those ball bearings go flying everywhere. But if you have some deft hands, you can get it back together. In fact, they say that this knife will run missing quite a few of the ball bearings. I don't know what the critical loss number is, but you can lose a few of them and it will still work. The action is spectacular. It has worn in so beautifully over time. It is a really smooth action. Now, it's not the fastest drop shut knife. Other knives like the Grimsmo Norseman will be smoother in that regard, but it has this wonderfully smooth and predictable resistance. It's very hydraulic in nature. Now, I have my pivot tuned to the way I like it. I could make this looser, but there might be a little bit of blade play when the lock is disengaged. This is my preferred amount of tension, and I really have enjoyed it. The SRBS, or single row bearing system, is nothing to turn your nose up at. There are quite a few ball bearings and a nice big pivot arrangement right there. And so it's a nice system, and it works very well. I will say that the multi-row bearing system that I've experienced on both the Hati and on this Sigma are noticeably smoother in terms of the drop shut action, but that only adds, a small amount of a tactile thing to the knife. Functionally, the SRBS is fantastic, and it feels great. I've never been disappointed by it. Moving back to the handles, ever since I did the surgery on this, I've been absolutely in love with this handle. This is a spectacular set of scales, and I have really enjoyed having it. This came from Department 13 Knives, and they made this with some copper dust carbon fiber from a company called Carbon Plate. This has got to be one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It may not come through under this lighting right here, but when you take this knife outside, go and look at it on my Instagram. You'll see the effect that this copper actually shines in the different lights. I'm trying to capture it here. It may or may not work under this lighting, but it is one of the most beautiful things ever. And I asked him to do this seashell pattern. So there's this milling going on the carbon fiber so that you get this tactile feel, this really nice texture with a nice amount of grip. And just the way that the handle fits in the hand for me is spectacular. It's so comfortable. It is like perfectly made for my sized hands. I have larger hands, a size 8 sterile glove. I'd probably wear large to extra large gloves. And it's just super nice in the hand. This one I changed out and put in a titanium backspacer. Honestly, after I put in the titanium backspacer, initially this was G10. I think the action actually got better. I can't explain why, but the centering and the action and everything improved drastically after I put this in. So I really can't recommend that modification enough. The pocket clip has been excellent. I really have enjoyed this because it functions extremely well. It's not the most attractive thing in the world. Some people said they didn't really like it, but in terms of function, it's magical. And these scales, just like the stock scales, have an area that's smoothed out underneath the pocket clip so it slides in and out perfectly. It's got enough ramp, it's got enough tension, and it's just the right height for almost any pan, and I have really liked it. The function here is 10 out of 10 on that clip. And the appearance I really enjoyed. In fact, this little ridged area up here allows you to pull it in and out of the pocket. So what is my final diagnosis? This belongs in Frunkey's top 5 ever. This is a fantastic knife, a fantastic Shirogorov, An absolutely perfect Frunkey knife. I love it. In fact, I'm going to make an F3 a permanent part of my collection. I'm going to get an upgraded F3R with the multi-row bearing system, and we'll see what that knife looks like. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of the Shirogorov F3 down below in the comments. Go ahead and click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel here. Head over and check me out on Instagram, where I talk a whole lot more about these knives and can give you links on how to buy these scales. Thank you guys for watching. This is Dr. Frunkey saying take care.